Blades Ramble are proudly supported by our main channel sponsor, My Business Group, a group of brands designed to support owners, leaders and managers in business. If you're looking to grow your business, contact mybusinessgroup.co.uk today for more information or follow the link in the description below. And seeing as this is 3MB, we're proudly sponsored by VMB Auto Centres at Handsworth. They're still offering that amazing deal of 50% off your MOT when you let them know that you're a Rambler. Call them now on 0114 322 4446. Thank you to VMB Auto Centres for their continued support of the Ramble.
Blades fans, subscribe to Blades Ramble. Up the Blades.
What is happening, Blades? And welcome back to the Blades Ramble. I am, of course, Jimmy, and this is the 3 Mardy Blades. And we've every reason to be Mardy this weekend, to be honest. First question to put out there for you guys to put in the comments is, how are you doing? Because if you're a new Sheffield United fan, and I am approaching what will probably be classed by some of you as a middle-aged Blades fan. So I've been following the club for well over 30 years, and I've been warned from a young age, and now it's time for you younger ones to understand that it's the hope that kills you. And we've said that many times on this channel, but if you don't understand what that means, it's Sheffield United will always get you into a position where you start to believe in them again, and then they will suck all the air out and kill off all the negativity, all the positivity with one game. So there is loads to be positive about, I'm sure, but I've got to scratch around to find a little bit of it, because we have improved under Chris Wilder, undoubtedly, and I think we see a lot of signs of us coming back to our old selves, if you like, the Sheffield United that we recognise. But it were a real step backwards, I think, on Friday night, and it was the manner in which we lost it. It wasn't the fact that we lost the game, because Preston are a decent team. They certainly started the season well. We were going away from home, which is always difficult. Anywhere you go in this league, you can't assume that you're going to turn anybody over unless they're going to Bramall Lane. And then it's just that when you go 2-0 up, it's very, very difficult to see any positives in that game as an isolated game. And when we felt like we were starting to build confidence again, how will this affect confidence going forward? So I want to make sure you're all right. I have kept myself busy all weekend, doing lots of family stuff, which has been great, and it's taken my mind off Sheffield United. In fact, it's just been a bit of a rush to get back in and get involved on time. We were originally going to go at 7. It's my fault that we didn't. So, yeah, I've been down seeing family in Kettering today. So yeah, back up now, back for some 3 Mardy Blades, but I can't do it on my own. I'm just 1/3 of this trio. Let's bring in one of my co-hosts. It's Paul, the Man Mountain.
This is the view from the mountain. With a heart so pure, it's astounding. Man Mountain, strong and true. What a man, what a view.
Now then, mate, how's it going?
Oh,
Yeah, I know.
bit of a sore head. Been celebrating this weekend. My cousin Harry married Molly yesterday, so I was down to up to Bakewell for the ceremony, then back to the Hyde in Sheffield for a bit of a disco and a bit of a
disco.
One of the best pie and mashes I've ever had, by the way. If anyone
Nice.
wants to go out for something nice to eat, the Hyde. I'll tell you what.
Congratulations to Harry and Molly. That's brilliant. Met Harry at the Matilda Shakes gig. Good lad. He was participating in the, trying to keep up with you, basically, on the drinks, I think, and enjoying his last couple of weeks of freedom, I think, and then he's married now, so that's it. When will you see him again? It's one of them, isn't it?
Nah, well, I'll see him maybe at Christmas, maybe before. We'll see.
Okie dokie, mate. Right, well, before we get into United, we have to complete the trio. Let's get the main man in. It's Dave the Nose Leary.
Dave the Nose, he really knows where the wind, I know whispers blow. Smelly brain, he's in the know. Dave the Nose steals the show.
Dave the Nose. He
Hello.
really knows. How you doing, pal?
I'm all right. How are we both doing?
Okay, mate. I'm okay. I'm not as good as I was before Friday. I'm not as bad as I was straight after Friday. I'm okay. How are you, Paul?
Yeah, it's If we're talking football, then it's a touch disappointing. But I know that every play that I know would have took 6 from 9 at the start of the week.
Yeah, and that's where I hope I get to. I'm not there yet, I'm afraid. Dave, I got a comment on 90 after 90 saying the fans were poor on Friday night. I immediately disagreed and pushed it back because we did a watch along and you could hear the fans. You could hear the away fans. Now I'm putting that to you because you were part of that away crowd, weren't you?
I was.
I also had a couple of people message me saying I was in that away end. It was not poor at all. I've also seen Tony's Ramble on the road, which will tell you it wasn't a poor crowd. What were your thoughts to the fans' support despite the result on Friday night, mate?
I think we had a few moments when we were 2-0 up when it went quiet.
Did you?
Just a couple of moments, and it went. It was earthly. It was just so quiet in the entire ground. It was before they got their first one. But in general, I thought we were pretty loud. There was a lot of frustration in the second half, and a lot of noise from as you'd expect from the Preston fans having turned it around from being from being 2-0.
Right.
2-0 down to being 3-2 up. So I think they were probably making more noise than us in the second half, in fairness. But I've been to worse games away in terms of atmosphere, and I've been to better ones. So it's probably somewhere in the middle, to be fair.
I think it was more obviously you'd expect the crowd to be up at 1 and 2, and then you'd expect a little bit of a mellowing out. Certainly as the pull one back, the equaliser, and they go in front. But I heard a lot of Blades singing at 3-2, so that is more what you look for in stuff like that in terms of the resilience of the fan base and stuff. So that's an immediate point addressed straight away. So the fans are still with the players and the team and the club, and that is vital, really, because we have done a lot of things right over the past few weeks. Really, I would say the results haven't necessarily turned until recently. But like Paul, I've repeatedly given you credit for this because you were right on what you were saying. Not that I disagreed with you at the time, but you were very much for against Hull, against Southampton. We're doing the right things. If we continue to do the right things, the results will come. The results then did come. And we turned it around and we got a couple of victories under our belt against Watford and against Blackburn. And then, how do you feel? I mean, it's probably same mentality again, isn't it? Look, it's a blip of a game, and we recalibrate and go again against Derby, which absolutely will be the way. But have we got to be a little bit concerned with how this could affect the players' mentality? We're hoping, because I've titled this, is it back to the drawing board? Is it a case of he has to now rebuild them again in terms of picking them up when we thought we were already on the up?
I don't think so. I think it's understandable to be disappointed. Wilder was clearly very disappointed in the post-match presser. But you're going to be, aren't you? You're 2-0 up and you lose 3-2 and you're losing to a couple of your pals. So he won't like that at all. So yeah, I understand why people would be disappointed, chucking away a 2-goal lead. It never feels great, does it? But we have to, if you want to dig out the positives in that, we've got Callum O'Hare scoring goals and affecting stuff at the top of the pitch, which we've been asking for an awful long time.
Yeah,
he's turning up in that sense. We've scored 5 goals in 2 games, which trumps the rest of the season. Which you got to score goals to win games, and we're scoring goals now, which is good. I think it was just a tale of defensive errors for me. I think when you look back at the game, if you look at their defending for the first one with the gap between the centre half and the right backs, Brooks does literally nought to walk through the middle of their team. And
takes it really well though, doesn't he?
Took it lovely, yeah. He took it lovely. Still, I'd love to see him do that more often because when he goes through, it's still, it's toss a coin, isn't it, with Brooks? You never know what's happening next in the playoff final. We know which side it fell. The coin fell on that one, but I thought it was defensive mistakes. I Well, it was Lewis Dobbin who sent Gyro to the shops, didn't he, for the first goal? He was sliding past him like it was like a comedy sketch when he goes to try and block it. And I have to say, and I don't often say, I'm not able to say, Michael Cooper, he gets he gets on that ball for the first goal through his fingers, biscuit hands. Not great for him. I'd expect him to save that. And I think last season he would have done. I'd also think that for the Jefferson header, I know he made a good connection, but it was straight at him. There's a couple of bits for that as well. McGuinness was, some might say he was fouled and he couldn't run. You could see he was hobbling.
He was laboured, weren't he? He was definitely laboured.
No, he was hobbling, mate.
Yeah, he couldn't get into position because he was down and couldn't move properly. Yeah.
So that's unfortunate. But for me, Ben Mee has got to spot that. So I think Ben Mee is the guy next to him. He's got to help his mate out a little bit there, and he's got to come across and drag someone over.
He does, but for me, he's caught between two there. He's marking Dobbin, and he has to come for. If he goes to Jebbo because McGuinness is out of action essentially for that phase of play, then Dobbin's free at back, and if ball goes over Ben Mee's head, people are saying, why didn't he stick with his man? I think he can't do right for doing wrong a little bit in that situation.
I don't know, mate. I'm not so sure. I think
he does go eventually, doesn't he? But he goes too late.
Well,
so
you've got to stop the first threat. You know, you've got to stop the person in front of you, and you know, if you force him to play the extra pass, then do it. I thought he had a second or two to make a decision, and I think he was caught in no man's land between the two. And if you see your centre half partner hobbling, for me, I think Ben Mee will look back at that and think I could have come across there. Again, I still think Cooper on a good day saves it as well because it is directly at him. I know it's got a bit of pace on it.
I think it's a lovely header, to be honest. It's
nice straight at him. It is straight at him. It is straight at him, and that is a save that I've definitely seen him make better saves than that. Personally, that's just my opinion. But no, I thought it was a tale of like Tanganga doesn't sort his feet out quick enough, really. And it's unfortunate that, and the timing of the goals don't help us at all, does it? Because if we go in 2-0,
oh mate,
it's a different story. And 2-1, their tails are up, come straight out, score within minutes. They're killer goals for us because psychologically we were carving through. It looked like at 2, I thought this could be 3, 4, 5.
Yeah, it should have been. It should have been.
But fair play to Preston that they came back, and I think we were just. It happens in football, doesn't it? I can't be overreacting to stuff like this.
No, it does, and I can 100% see why you can put it as an isolated game where the chips didn't fall for us, and we were unlucky in certain phases of the game, and that swung it, and the momentum then built with every advantage that they gained. They got ahead of steam, and you can see why the game went how it went. I think not the panicking, that's the wrong word, but the sort of concern is now, how do the players react to it? I don't think it was a terrible performance and how did we throw this away? Obviously, it's a how do we throw it away, but I don't think it's anything to be overly concerned about as an isolated game. But will that knock the players' confidence now because of what they were on the way to rebuilding? And then they've thrown away, essentially, when you sit back and you look at the context of it, they were 2-0 up and cruising, and they've thrown it away to a 3-2. Dave, you look like you're pondering.
Yeah, well, I've got quite a lot of thoughts spinning around my head from that game, and some of them are contradictory, to be fair, which will be nothing new. I thought that we rode our luck in the first 10 minutes.
Yeah.
We then tore them apart, particularly with Brooks's goal. There's some poor defending from their side, but some really good interplay.
Lovely. From Campbell as well.
Yeah, and I was saying to Jamie, it looks like that some of these moves are starting to click where they haven't been a lot of the time this season. The goal before half time is a bit of naivety from a game management perspective. I agree at his near post. I think Cooper should save it, and it definitely changes the game.
Just on that, Dave, before you move on, and I'll get Paul's opinion on that. Just remember where you are, because I want to hear your thoughts on everything. But the first goal, there was some that just thought it was a good. I was in the camp of thinking it were a good goal. Maybe I am subconsciously letting Cooper off lightly because everybody knows I'm a big Cooper fan. I'll take that on chin, and I will have a look back and see if Cooper could do any better. But when we were watching the game and first saw the replays, I just thought sometimes you've got to applaud a very good goal. In the post-match, Wilder clearly had a dig at Burrows for missing and being spun on the first phase of the play. And then there were a few differences of opinion in terms of, Riedveld, did he slide across recklessly and take himself out of contention? Should he have stood up, basically, and stood? It's very easy to say in hindsight, but the ball gets around 3 defenders. Should somebody not get at least a leg out to it? Do you blame anybody else, or are you just more, Cooper could save it? Is that your opinion? And then nobody, I think everybody else slightly gets off it because it's just a good goal.
No, I think he's right on Burrows. I mean, the conditions were worsening as well. So as soon as anyone goes to ground, they're going far further than they would have done.
Yeah, half a pitch.
I just think any goalkeeper who gets beat at the near post like that's disappointed that they got beat.
There's a lot of bodies it's got through, though.
You're still disappointed. He's not stood in the middle of the goal. He's towards it. Okay. I think he'll be disappointed he didn't do that.
I'd back Cooper to save that more times than he misses it. I would say he saves that most of the time. I think he'll be disappointed. I don't think he'll need anyone to tell him.
Well, he'll always be disappointed to concede, won't he? But does he expect to save it then? Is that what you mean?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
I think Michael Cooper saves that usually for me.
Okay.
Agreed.
Sorry, David boy, I cut you off, mate. You were in full flow.
I think this. I mean, I didn't get to see 90 after 90, obviously, because I was travelling back. But so I don't know what other people had said or what your view on it was. But I thought we've got to be very careful to not forget how good Preston were, particularly in the second half. They were first to everything. When they were playing, they were playing.
Yes, they were.
Play. There were a couple of little. I forget. Was it? Did it lead to a goal? I can't remember. It's a bit of a blur. But there was one point where there's a bit of a ricochet of the ball, and you know it's not your night when it ends up going to their guy to run through rather than it coming our way. Just one of them 50-50 balls.
Yeah.
But Preston were excellent, and I think they were fitter than us, which is not a surprise with how Hecky is. And they deserved on the second half performance. They deserved to win that game.
Yeah,
there are details where we could have done better. These little bits and pieces, and I think that's what's going to be good for the players. Is they're going to be looking at it and going, it's a little detail. It's not a look, guys. You were all over the place. What were you doing there? I also think Wilder needs to have a little bit of a reflection on some of his decision making in the second half.
Yeah,
when he brings Ings on and sticks him
in the 10.
I mean, crazy. You look at the game. Burrows was in the second half. It was at times. And
no McCallum to replace him when he's dipping. Yeah.
Yeah, he didn't bring McCallum on. I think some of the decision making in the second half, he might think he could have done differently. So it's not just a case of, like we looked at the start of the season and some of the performances were looking good. These guys don't look like they know what they're doing. They're not running about. I think I looked at Campbell, particularly first half I thought he was fantastic.
I did.
Ran out of steam rather than in some of the games this season when I thought even from the off he seemed a bit laboured.
Yes, agreed.
So I think the performances around the outfield players was largely decent. And certainly, you look at if we'd have took it, gone in 2-0 at half time, and we'd have been saying, that's fantastic. We've been brilliant, best performance, best half of the season so far.
Yeah, a lot of people were saying that just before Dobbin goal.
And a bit better. And this is where it's a bit disappointing. The experienced players didn't give it us a little bit better game management. Going into those added minutes before half time to not just keep it really simple and make sure you just hang on to the ball in the right areas and not be trying to do little flicks here, there. And I think they'll be most disappointed with that because clearly that gave Preston the impetus they needed going into the second half. And like I said, I thought they were great. I think if you're a Preston fan, you're not only going home buzzing that you've turned around a 2-0 deficit to win 3-2, but you're proud of the performance that you've seen from your players. And I don't know the stats. I'm not a stat guy, but their home record's pretty impressive if
it is.
memory serves correctly. So let's not, you don't get too high over the 2 wins before, and you don't get too low just because we've not won this one. It's still 6 from 9, which is some going.
It is, and we'd have all taken that, wouldn't we, beforehand?
2 points a game.
Yeah.
It's just the context in it of the way that it's gone. That's the disappointing thing.
Yeah. I just think the fans have just got to remember it's not the same as when we went to Ipswich. It's we've come up against, like Dave says, a good side who deserve credit for what they've done in the game. And yeah, I think there was a few for me. So when you look back at the goals, for me, there's things that you can unpick and you can say, oh, that should have been better. They'll think the first 2 goals from their perspective for us were quite poor from their defensive point of view. I think they get trapped in on the edge of their own box. They let O'Hare come inside. It was, if it was our defenders, I'd be saying you need to engage him before that. You need to be closer. You need to stop that. So I think it's a bit of a tale of that, really. But they showed a lot of spirit. Michael Smith should have scored for them later.
Yeah, he should.
We had chances with O'Hare on the stretch. If he gets a good contact, that's a goal. Samari will think that he could have put away his half chance as well. It's one of those games.
Burrows slips at far post, doesn't he?
He don't make that header. Oh my gosh,
that's what I mean.
He's misjudged it. I think he's misjudged it. And another player on the end of that can nod that in the corner. So I think it was just one of those things that just went against us. And I'll not be panicking about it. Like you say, if you review the week on the whole, again, five goals in 2 games, would have killed for that.
Yeah.
A few weeks ago, if someone said, oh, you're going to score 5 goals, you win 1, you lose 1, and be like, oh, crikey, that's that'd triple our tally for the season. So that would be we'd have took it, wouldn't we? So I'm not too worried. I think there's a few little lessons to learn, and I think Coops will be. I think he will be disappointed personally. I think he the caliber of the man, he'll be thinking one or two of them should have been. We should have snaffled them out. But
can I pose a question then, boys?
Always.
For January, then, do we think we need to go out and bring in a more serious number 2?
Yeah, I've thought that for a while. To be fair, I think we've been greedy in the past by saying that. I think it's been more a precaution in terms of if Cooper gets injured, or is it now a case of if we had, say, maybe not now, but maybe a couple of years ago, if John Ruddy came in as a number 2, for example. Don't know where Dave's gone. Decided to ditch us. Dave, you still there, mate?
You, Jim. He's not having it.
All right, okay, yeah, he's had enough. But some experienced goalkeeper behind him, Begovic or whoever it might be, that you wouldn't. Like, if Adam Davies comes in, there's no real way to say this without sounding disrespectful, but I think it's a step down if Adam Davies comes in for Michael Cooper now. That's just how I feel. I don't think you've got the same protection. I appreciate Cooper's not playing the best.
Poor old Davies, mate. Cooper has a little bit of a stink, and all of a sudden we're slagging Davies again.
No, but it's just it's like, would you feel comfortable with Davo coming in though?
Well, I don't see. I get what you're saying.
For example, Burrows has got dropped, and McCallum isn't seen to be the same calibre of player. But McCallum's got a chance because Burrows has been out of form. We wouldn't do that with Cooper. It's too important a position.
I get it. I understand.
Unless we had a better number 2.
If Cooper dropped out, then we'd be looking at it going, well, we need a better number 2. Do you honestly think there's a number 2 available who's going to come and who realistically will dislodge Michael Cooper and he'll drop him?
No, I don't. But there's more of a necessity now for competition for Cooper than there is just a strong backup to Cooper.
I don't think we're going to get competition for Cooper because the only way he drops out of the team is if he gets injured.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you.
Maybe he also needs an older head who's working with him, who's at the tail end of the career, who's not looking to play, 46 games. But is going to be maybe as part of the coaching development or something, can just get involved. Yeah, well, yeah, they're going to want money.
Is that where you want to spend your money? Do you think that's a good use of wage money? If you want someone who's been around the block, who probably have played a higher level, whatever, coming to the end of the whatever it is.
Adam Davies is on a decent wage.
Right. We raved all last season saying Michael Cooper is the best goalkeeper in the Championship.
Correct.
If we just signed him this summer and watched him at the moment, we'd be thinking, what have we bought?
I hate this Cooper slander, but I'm not saying you're wrong.
We know how good he can be.
Yeah.
What help do we need to give him as a club
To get back to those levels?
That player who we all look at and go, he's the best keeper that we can remember having, certainly since, Henderson, and, talks of whether he'd go on to surpass him in terms of how we look at a goalkeeper for United. How do we help him get back to that point? I am not slandering him at all, but I think fair's fair, we can say he doesn't look the same player that he did last year, and then we don't know why that is.
So I would argue it's confidence. There's also been a couple of things suggested. Mogger in our chat, who's a bit of a fitness guru, he thinks he's spending too much time in the gym and he is too big. He's put on too much muscle recently, which affects his reflexes and affects his ability to get down into the corners a little bit better and things like that. He thinks he's too heavy. But I would say it's more confidence. And I think we've obviously done a lot of work to the defence late on in the window. And now you'd expect it to bear fruit a little bit if we're going to start shutting the back door, which we've got a little bit better at, I think. But
is he not carrying an injury as well?
He has carried an injury, yeah.
Do we know if that's gone?
Don't know if that's been dealt with.
He's
not come out of the team to have an injury treated, has he? So you would have to assume, and it's only an assumption, that he's still carrying an injury.
So then it begs the question why we wouldn't in January look at somebody for 6 months, at least.
I think with goalkeepers, I look around. I've watched Vicario for Tottenham this afternoon.
Yeah,
I've an absolutely astounding game. I think he's really stepped on.
He's a top keeper, isn't he?
But mate, 6 months ago, Tottenham fans were saying,
"Yeah, they were.
This guy needs to go." And I think,
but when he first came in, he were class. So it's dipped, hasn't it?
I think that with the nature of the beast with goalkeepers is they're going to have dips in form at times, and I think even the top goalkeepers still have dips in form. And I know they get goalies get judged on the mistakes, don't they? I think Cooper's. I think his character will tell him that he'll want to improve, and like you say, I'm not sure if it's a good use of resource smashing a 30 grand a week on a backup keeper that I personally don't think he would drop Cooper under any circumstances.
Other than injury.
Yeah. So it's use of the money, isn't it? I know exactly what you're saying. I know exactly what you're saying with when it comes to outfield players, they get rotated, don't they? If you're not on it, you'd have two reasonably, even if you're an established player.
It's a very precarious position, isn't it, the goalkeeper? If you mess about with it too much, you can really ruin it, can't you, I suppose? So
mate, a lot of top goalkeepers, they go from being like, think about the ones that have played for England, then just dropped off a cliff and never played for the top level again. A lot of it is up here.
Yeah.
And I don't think I do shudder to think what sort of game Michael Cooper would have for Wild to turn around and go, well, I'm going to play this guy instead. I don't think he will, because that's as damaging as anything else. Is you play poorly, your manager shows no faith, and then you
unless he's carrying a knock.
So I think it's one of them, mate. I think with goalkeepers, you have to expect the rough with the smooth sometimes. We know what he's capable of, and I think it's a little bit of a blip. I don't think it's a crisis. It's not like a howler, but they are saves that I think he, by his standards, would make. If Wes had done that, I'm not trying to dig out anyone else for Cooper's mistakes. We'd be going, yeah, standard. that happens all the time.
Yeah, but I'd argue that doesn't mean that just because we're not expecting it from Michael Cooper doesn't mean that we shouldn't be concerned when it's happening or be thinking.
Yeah, because we're holding him to a higher standard, but that's still below his standard, isn't it?
Maybe it's sports psychology needs. Like I said, we don't know the ins and outs of it. All that we can see from the fans looking at the games is that he's not the same. He's not playing the same, and he doesn't look the same in terms of his demeanour as he was last season. And yeah, confidence will have a lot to do with that. But how do we help him get back?
Do you think if we made a big, like Tanganga's been a huge signing, so that could automatically answer my question. But do you think if, say, for example, it's rumoured that we're interested in Harry Souttar, who was a huge difference maker for us last year. I think if we bring Harry Souttar into the defence, we may see an upturn for Cooper and other players around. I think, like for example, I think other players have lifted their game since Ben Mee's come into the side. I think Harrison Burrows has looked a bit better. McCallum's looked better. Harrison Burrows was shocking other night. Don't get me wrong, but
I know where you're going with this. His distribution's not been the same though either.
No, his distribution hasn't. No, it's been poor, hasn't it, his distribution?
Yeah, so having somebody like Suter in front of him is not going to help his distribution. It might just help him to, to be able to think, I can
trust my defence.
Yeah, and I can focus a little bit more of my attention on that. I don't know.
Okay. So we've talked a little bit about the game itself and some of the more disappointing aspects of it, but we try and look at the brighter points as well. Just before we get on to some of the brighter individual performances, because I think it's right that we talk about some positives from the game, because there were positives. I'm just going to finish off with some of the more critical elements of it, and I don't want to focus too long on this, but you talked about Danny Ings in the 10, Dave. I think that's a wilder call. I don't think Danny Ings can be judged on his performance playing in a role that he's unfamiliar with personally. There were a few people in the comments saying, well, he looks past it to me. He looks like his legs have gone. He looks all this, that, and other. I think you can judge him if he's playing at the top of the pitch where he's more natural. But Harrison Burrows looked a shadow of the player we got a 20-minute cameo from the previous game. How similar to Cooper, I suppose. How do we get our Harrison Burrows back? I also have to say, Tom Cannon, I have tried and I have tried and I have tried, and I still think we haven't given him a fair check in terms of, I think I'd like to see him in a 2, but he does himself no favours, and I cannot defend him anymore in terms of give this lad a chance. I'm swimming uphill. I want to always give players a chance like we all do, and I think I've held for a long time with this, but he showed me absolutely nothing again. Absolutely nothing. And I'm just really disappointed in his performance, to be honest. I thought everybody else, really, you can say, put it in. City Peck's coming under a little bit of flack from some supporters. I didn't think you were terrible the other night. What were your thoughts on Burrows and particularly Cannon? Is it time that is Cannon done now in a Sheffield United shirt?
I wouldn't judge it on that. I wouldn't judge.
No, but not though, are we? We're judging it on everything else we've seen.
Same like with Ings. I mean, yeah, it looks like one that's not worked. And how long do you give any player before you?
That's right.
It's not worked. And I think if
do you think he's on Wilder's list to go?
I think if an offer came in that they deemed was reasonable for him, I think they'd let that. I think that would happen.
So I'm offering you £2 million for Tom Cannon now.
Well, I think with a decent add-on, yeah, probably take it and you cut your losses. If the 4 million, is it 4 million or whatever, being
4 rising to 7 apparently.
Right,
yeah.
So forget the 7. So if it's 4, then yeah, sometimes you've got to you cut your losses, don't you?
Yeah, you do.
And you move on and spend that 2 million or put that 2 million towards somebody else. So yeah, I probably would, in fairness, and I think Wilder probably will as well. But it's whether we get offered it. Yeah.
Are you cashing in on Tom Cannon in January, or are you sending him on loan to try and get some value back into his name before we sell him on again in the summer?
I can't see a loan unless we go out and sign somebody who he thinks is a lot better.
Well, the rumours were that Preston were, and these are just rumours, and I haven't double checked or anything like that, not ITK, but Preston were in around deadline day for a loan, and that would have the benefit to us there is he's still under contract with us for a significant amount of time. If he goes out to Preston and does well, he puts value back into himself. It doesn't necessarily mean he'll come back to Sheffield United and then be involved in the first. It might do, but I think it's more to put value into him so we can get more money back from the transfer.
Yeah, I see that. There's obviously a benefit to that. I think it'd be if he fancies somebody else who he thinks he can get through the door. It's possible. I think he's still the third choice striker.
Yeah, he is.
Wilder's eyes. I think his chance was a half chance, but I think he's got to go across the goal rather than the side netting with his opportunity. It was slack. I thought he had to go across the keeper, and at least then someone can knock it in at the back even if he is not on target or whatever. So I know what you mean with Cannon. Has he had a fair crack? I feel like he's one of those that yeah, it may be a good option to cash in if the right offer comes in. He could go somewhere and start scoring. It's a little bit one of them. We all think he should be playing 2 up top. We think Ings, Campbell, and Cannon would be suited to a 2 rather than a solo striker role, which he called him a stretch striker at one point, didn't he? So I think he sees him as someone who can run into channels and work defenders and work the back 2, I guess. But yeah, he's no form. He's not hit any form. Well, I think we obviously persevere with him until January and reassess where we are on that front. So yeah, I still see him in and around the squad as an option to come in. He's getting 10, 15, 20 here and there, and whether he can come on and light it up at some point, we hope so, don't we? But no, I know what you're saying. I think the proof will be in the pudding with him a little bit. It's hard to predict what's going to happen with him. Just remember as well, we've had strikers before who've not done it for us and then gone elsewhere. Thinking about Kiefer Moore, thinking about Billy Sharp, who had 3 goes at it. So he's one of those people who are in and around him. They tell us he's a goal scorer. So we'll see.
Yeah, we will see, mate. Do you think Wilder's been too stubborn with this 4-2-3-1 then? In terms of the changes that he made mid-game, I liked the setup. I never want to try and rewrite history. When the team came out and we saw the team, a lot of us liked it, and I certainly liked how we went for the majority of that first half. Thought we were unlucky to concede and go in at 2-1. But then when he makes the changes to try and chase the game, and he brings on Danny Ings for Callum O'Hare, I think it was. No, for Brooks. And then Callum O'Hare, I can't remember what it was. But anyway, whatever it was, Ings went into the 10. And then when he brings Cannon on, you'd assume that they're going up top together, and it's just a slight tweak to a 2. And he doesn't. He rigidly sticks to the 4-2-3-1 with a striker in the 10. And it's like he's accommodating, he's like lessening Ings' impact to accommodate Cannon for me, because surely Ings is the more potent striker of the 2. And he just wants Cannon to get off the mark.
We weren't creating, I think, clear cuts, what I call like a clear cut centre forwards type chance. We weren't creating enough for them, and I think he sees Ings as the kind of experienced footballing brain that might, in a bit of space, be able to do something. I don't agree with it. I'm not saying I think it was the right thing to do, because he's clearly never, as far as I can ever remember seeing Danny Ings played that kind of role.
He's a finisher, isn't he? He's a finisher. Yes, he's clever with the ball at his feet, but he's a finisher.
But some of the real standout thing for me with the substitutions, looking at it, was how thin I thought we looked in terms of attacking options. I thought, I know you'll come on to like good performance and stuff, but like I'm not seeing it with Ogbene, and I'm really sad about it, because
we're going to mention him as well.
How well he talks and stuff. But I've seen him a few times now, and the guy looks, either he's scared to put his foot down, or he can't put his foot down anymore because of that injury. Yeah. There was so it was in the opposite. It was in the first half, so it was at the opposite end of the pitch for us. But he ended up in a one-on-one foot race with, I think it was their left back, and he got a head start on him, and he didn't get to the ball first, and you're like, how can you, of all players, not get to the ball first in that position?
Meant to be rapid. We've not seen it, have we? We've seen it in very short bursts.
Yeah, so because of not having that burst of pace and maybe not trusting himself, we're not getting a load. I said this to Jamie. I think I prefer Raksaki back on. I thought he offered more in that role last season than Ogbene is for us. Even though he did the same thing.
Would you send all 4 domestic loans back then? Keep Samari and then Ogbene, Bindon, Barry, and Godfrey.
Well, is Godfrey's an international one in season.
Oh, sorry. I said domestic because he's an English player, but you're right.
Depending on who's available. But if you send Ogbene back and there's no other right wingers out there, what do you do?
I think he'll keep Ogbene, even though he's been disappointing.
I think he will, but I think we need another one in that position. But the others, I think 100% would.
So, talk to me about Burrows then, Dave, and I'll ask Paul's opinion on this as well. Does he come out again now when McCallum goes in because of that drop off in performance? I don't think you can do right for doing wrong here. Really, I think he's going to struggle to make a justifiable decision.
I think it was really harsh not to at least bring McCallum on, given the performances in the previous 2 games. I understand why he started Burrows, because Burrows came on
agree.
And against Blackburn, and he was outstanding.
Yeah.
So I understand that, but I think it is really harsh that he didn't at least bring McCallum on towards the end of the game. So I think I would say, look, we've got to get you. We're not quite there, are we? We need to.
So you take Burrows out again and put McCallum in.
Yeah, I think
just purely on
performance.
performance.
Week, though, isn't it? So again, it's my usual kind of. I
don't know.
What I'll do, but I think if it was me, I would take him out. I would put McCallum back in because I think he earned it, and then look to bring him on, depending on how the game's going in the second half.
Paul, what are you doing with the Burrows McCallum conundrum?
I think McCallum probably deserved to, on merit, deserved to start the game at Preston. It might again. We don't have all the.
Oh dear.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think so. I think he's been solid. Yeah, I think Burrows' cameo was great. And he offers us that. He offers us something there that McCallum doesn't.
So he kept dangling that carrot to Burrows rather than just give him an immediate start.
I think. Well, if you're Sam McCallum, I think you'd be outdone by on the previous 2 performances. If you're fully fit and raring to go, McCallum man of the match in one of the games and then had a solid performance in the other. To lose your spot like that, if that had been Burrows, would that have happened? I don't think it would. If McCallum comes on for 15, 20 minutes and scores and does this, does he then dislodge Burrows the following game? If Burrows was man of the match the game before and whatever, I don't know. I don't think so. So I think McCallum has every right to be a bit annoyed about it. I'd certainly, based on performance, McCallum for me probably does start the next game. Wilder didn't pull any punches in the press. He gets sucked into the ball, tries to nick it, loses his man. He rolls in, and that's part of the issue for that first goal, isn't it? And one of the few things that you could point to and go, that should have been better. That should have been better. That should have been better.
So you think he drops Burrows again as well?
I think he does. Yeah. And
do you think that's reactionary, or do you think that's the right decision?
It's hard because typically
it's a tough one, isn't it?
Yeah, I think if you drop somebody and I'm not saying it's anything like the same thing, managing kids football or managing football players, the time I drop somebody is for a lack of what I perceive to be effort or application, or attitude, one of those things. Now, are we saying that Burrows deserves it based on the mistake that he made or the general? Because I get the feeling Burrows is a hard-working player. He tries his best. And we know he's got ability, final ball and finishing qualities that he brings to the table for us. So it's difficult. But I think if I was McCallum, I think he merits a start ahead of Burrows at this point. But that doesn't mean I think he's a better player. It means that at this point,
absolutely.
That's what I would. That's what I personally would be doing. But again, it is tricky because I don't think Burrows has done anything on purpose or shown us anything terrible to say that you definitely got to go. And I just think McCallum's done well, and probably like you said,
we're in a bit of a fortunate position though at left back now, aren't we? Where we've got somebody that's come into and done surprisingly well. I would say I don't think it's unfair to say that McCallum has in one game. I know he got the man of the match, but he was genuinely the best player on the pitch for us when he got man of the match. So I think he's deservedly had his time in the team. Absolutely right, and I think that's a fair point you make, Paul. In terms of he could have started again against Preston, and nobody would have really been able to say how come he's in the team. What's this all about? And Burrows coming on maybe for 30 minutes this time might then sort of tease is Burrows really turning a corner, because he's not performed in the 90 minutes that he got against 95, whatever it ended up being, against Preston. So, okay, we've done we're on 45 minutes, and I will get some comments soon, I promise, but we've done the negative elements of the game, and we've done that to death a little bit, I think, but I've enjoyed that element of the conversation, even though it's a bit crude to say it like that, I suppose. There were also some really positive, shining lights in that game, and I'm going to talk about 2 specifics, but feel free to bring any more to the table. Whoever wants to start us off on either Callum O'Hare or Andre Brooks, or even Tyrese Campbell's performance first half before I think he faded, because I don't think he's fit. But yes, Davey boy, you start us on them.
I feel like I've got to start us off on Andre Brooks simply because I've said for many moons and months that he's not a right winger.
Yeah.
And I think he looks so much more comfortable playing that sort of left-hand side position.
You're right, Dave. You've been on it for ages saying that.
Yes.
And I was really impressed with him. To be fair, I thought first half especially, I thought
Yeah.
he a real handful for him. Clever play, fast,
Great finish as well.
great finish. And a great, obviously there's miles for him to run into, but he spots that and he makes the right run at the right time.
And you've got a good 5 seconds to panic. And he doesn't. He keeps his composure. For somebody who's not been a regular Scot, like you said, there was the Wembley incident where he went through. There's a lot of time to get that wrong, and he didn't. So I think it shows a strong mentality from him in that regard. So we're really pleased with goal.
So I've got to start with that. I thought it was. I think second half faded a little bit, but I will let him off with that because he's not played a lot of football, and I think he'll not be 100% fit yet. But for me, has to start there against Derby. Without a doubt.
Okay. Paul, Callum Aware?
Oh, okay. I was going to say.
Go on then. You're going to talk about.
I was just going to say about Andre Brooks because I feel like we've been here before with Brooksy. We have had
false storms
performances where we are waxing lyrical and we're saying, massive step forward. He's got to nail down that left hand side for me. He's really got to now look for some consistency. He's not a kid anymore. He's a young pro, but he needs to nail that position. Say to the manager, give him no choice.
You've got to compare him to Arblaster, haven't you? Same group he came through with, and Arblaster has firmly established his place as a first team player. I'm not saying he'll get directly in as soon as he's fit, but you'd edge your bets that Arblaster gets into our centre midfield when he's fit and he's available to do so. Brooks is the same as Blaster, and that Blaster is the standard, I think, certainly of the current crop of youngsters. Sidi Peck comes into that, Femi Sariki comes into that. Obviously, they're playing different positions, but can you establish yourself and put a marker on the team like Ollie Arblaster has done when he's in this Sheffield United side? And Andre Brooks has yet to hold down a first team place, but all he can do is continue on the way that he's starting to play, and that's all it is, Paul. You're right. It's a start. He needs to show consistency, which he hasn't shown to date. But we also have to praise him and enjoy him when he's playing as well as he did do on Friday night.
I think you're right, and I think part of his problem is he plays in one of those flare positions, doesn't he? He plays in one of those positions where if you're not setting people up or you're not scoring, people are questioning your role and what you bring to the table. And I think because he was so one-footed, and we'd said it 100,000 times, if you play in those wide areas, you've got to be able to go both ways, and you do have to do that. I think it suits him better on the left because there's nothing wrong with having a left-footed player on the left. They're not all the same as Mo Salah, and I think it suits him more. He's more natural that way. And I think it's kind of showing, and because I feel like he's one of those players who's been, like you said, they've been pushed around this team a little bit. He was a centre mid at the start. He was then a right winger, nothing else, and wouldn't be able to go anywhere else. And now he's on that left hand side. I think through injuries because Barry's not doing it, and
Barry's form, Gus's injury, innit?
Yeah, Barry's not doing it, and Gus is out, so we need Andre go there. I think, like we just said, I don't want to repeat myself over and over, but he needs to show some consistency. He needs 10 games where we're looking at a guy who is bringing to the table what we know he can, and this is the challenge for him as a professional footballer. Can he now string together a string of performances that says to the manager, "I'm there, I'm stopping, and that's it, and this is me. This is where I want to be, and I'm playing."
Has he put the nail in Barry's coffin? Is it with Gus? Obviously, Gus is our starter on the left. Brooks will be trying his best to get onto that left-hand side where he can. Barry's now third in the position that he came in to play. Is that him going back in January, we think?
Well, something drastic has to happen for Louis Barry because I think he is, without doubt, of all the signings, probably the most disappointing. of the expectations that he came with.
Yeah, that's fair.
We're all quite excited when he joined. We like the sound of him. He's obviously a nice lad. Is he good enough? Is he physical enough? These are the questions that he needs to be asked, because once again, I'm looking at it going, no, he is not bringing anywhere near what a player in that position needs to bring to the table, and he's not quick enough. He's not strong enough.
He's got to be at least one of them, hasn't he? And he's neither.
He's neither.
Yeah,
That's right.
You're right. You're right. Sorry, I'm hogging it now, but
No.
He's really. He's been it's been really sad, actually. I think Wilders clearly wants him to show us what he can do, and he's just not doing it. And if it carries on all the way to Jan like this, there's no way he stays in Jan.
I agree.
Something's really got to change. He's had spells in games where he's had 10 minutes where he's looked dangerous, but it's not nearly enough. At this level, he has just not cut the mustard, and he's going to have to make some massive changes if he's going to stay with Sheffield United.
Wilder wants the loan spots to rejig anyway, doesn't he? So if he don't see him as good enough for first team level, which he's certainly not troubling the 11 on a regular basis at the moment, then he's vulnerable. So I think you're right. If it carries on, it won't be here.
I don't think he offers any more than Ryan One did in pre-season in those positions. In fact, I'd argue Ryan One probably looked more dangerous.
Yeah, I'd agree. I'd agree with that. And Ryan One, I think, will get a loan in January as well, which is much needed. Paul, then talk to me about Callum O'Hare, and just obviously he's been brilliant. It's not a case of just waxing lyrical about him. I want to know if you think it's partly because Gus Amer has come out of the team.
Oh dear. Well,
it'd have been too easy to say how good has Callum O'Hare been.
I love that question.
Yeah,
I love that question. I love you've asked
proper set me up, Annie. Set me up. No, I think that we're a long time since we saw the two of them at their best together in this team, and that which does beg the question: our improvement as a team is correlated with Callum O'Hare's improvement in his performances. I think he, at the moment, is the most important player in this team.
So do you not think he's, and I don't mean to force you into an answer with that, but I think he's relishing the responsibility of being a very important player in the team, rather than, obviously everybody looks to Gus all the time, whether it's consciously or subconsciously, but Callum O'Hare is seen now as, like you say, probably the best player, certainly on form, in our side, consistently.
Well, I think it's kind of what we've been saying about Callum O'Hare for ages, and Wilder even dug him out in a presser, saying, running around. What did he say? Running around's great.
14K. He's not training for Olympics.
No, exactly.
I need him to score and assist.
Exactly. So I think he's throwing it down publicly that Callum O'Hare needs to get his numbers in order if he's going to play in a number 10 position the way that he does. And fair play to him. He looks to be getting into that box. And we've been saying it for donkeys. Get in the box.
Yeah,
that is where the goals come. And he's certainly showing more of that, being in that number 10 role. Now, whether that's the dynamic of the team is that if he's going to play Gus on the left, which I imagine he will when he comes back, I'm hoping Brooksy gives him a massive problem there, because there's no way that you could take Callum O'Hare out of this team right now for anyone. So
I agree.
As good as Gus Hamer is, you can't do that. It's about whether my thing with what you said about O'Hare and Hamer is Hamer doesn't give us what Brooks gives us on that left-hand side, the same way that Brooks doesn't give us what Hamer gives us on that left-hand side, because whether you think Hamer comes in and condenses the space for Cal and therefore that affects his performance, possibly. I think that the idea of having pace out wide is preferable to players in the 10 position, because the defence drops off and they occupy defenders better, don't they? Whereas with Gus, you can step onto him, they can follow him in, and then relying on Burrows or McCann to provide the width. So there's probably a more technical question there about whether it fits with them both in there. Ideally, obviously, they get back to the form we saw last year when there was him, Hamer, and Campbell all interchanging, and they were the biggest source of goals for us in this team. So, I think you're right that it could be that he's relishing the responsibility, and I'd love to think that they can both play in the same team. I just think that fair play to O'Hare, because when Hamer's there, like you said, sometimes you think, well, we drop O'Hare in a heartbeat, but actually, I think he's really proving a point at the moment.
I agree.
He's a key player. Fair play to Mr. V, who's been championing him since day one.
Yes, he has.
We haven't always been Team O'Hare on this channel.
I agree.
But right now,
we've always supported him, but I don't think we've ever really seen him as the man, have we? And at the moment, he's proving to be the man in who's pulling the team up.
I think when he's been struggling, I think we've said, it's not good.
Yeah,
enough. Needs
right.
to be better, and he's not at the. He's
and Gus sometimes gets off lightly with that. I would say as well, because we all love Gus. Everybody loves
I think
Gus.
you're right. I think we're seeing more of that form that we saw in the playoffs, obviously against Bristol. We're starting to see that Callum O'Hare. I still think he could have had a better connection on his half chance. I felt
like sliding in.
Yeah,
mate. Nah.
No. I don't know. I'm not digging him out because he was the best player on the pitch.
He needs to be about a foot and a half taller. Then I'd have said then I'd have been digging him out.
I don't know, Dave. A good connection, and that's a goal.
Hey,
it is a goal. I agree with you, Paul.
He's on the proper stretch, and honestly, the conditions were horrendous.
Dave, Dave, you lauded my question to Paul, put him in a tricky spot there. I'm gonna go one further with you now.
Oh, great! Here we go.
Would you sell Gus in January?
No.
But would you fear selling Gus in January if,
yes.
Based on? Well, all right, all right. It's a very obvious thing. If I'm not going to give you the option, but there's been a lot of talk about Sheffield United can't lose Gus. We can't lose Gus. What we're doing, blah blah blah. Does this current run of form with him out of the team due to injury, does it settle you a little bit more in terms of if the club chooses to cash in on him, which none of us want him to go, obviously. But if the club chooses to cash in on him, which there have been murmurings we might do because his contract is winding down and he'll have a year left in the summer, which will significantly affect his value. He's not been pulling up any trees so far this season. Admittedly, none of the players were when Gus was fit. To be fair, you can't just single him out for that. He may have had an uptick in form had he continued in the team as well. I understand all that. But does it make you less fearful to lose him? Is probably the best way to put it.
It all comes down to what the money would be to sell him for me, and I feel that might be a bit of a cop out. Because
so if we get offered 10 million quid in January, and we are staring mid-table in the face anyway, with no real chance of playoffs, do you cash in?
No, I don't think so. I think he's worth 10 million quid to me. Look, Championship Player of the Season last season.
I agree. I'm not saying I would either, by the way. I'm just posing that question because I think it at least cushions the blow of if we choose to cash in on him, that we have seen that United can play well without him. So I think there was a fear sometimes that it was Gus Hamer FC sometimes.
Without some options, we're really going to struggle. Really going to struggle. These three game weeks, I think there's probably a little bit, and I know it's the same for everybody, but there's a little bit of that creeping in as well. And you're going to rely on, I know he's got a fantastic engine. It's one of the best things about him. But if you're going to rely on Callum O'Hare to play Saturday, Tuesday for now to the end of the season without some good backup for him.
Oh, Gus Hamer, you can't get better. He's not a backup, is he? But no, I know exactly what you mean.
But he's a different. He's a different option. So, but my thing is, if you're talking 10 million, is I worry about in January what 10 million pounds buys you.
Well, what if we've got no brass? If we've got no brass, he's already sort of talked about he has to wheel and deal in January, doesn't he? I think that immediately means cancelling some at loans, and I think it means sending some of our kids out on loan. But that's only going to get you so much. It's maybe we sell Tom Cannon. That'll be low income in terms of a transfer fee.
But we don't know where we're going to be in January. This is all the thing. If you're looking at, if we're in the top half and we started to make real inroads, and it's like, right, there's a chance here we can make playoffs. It's one route, one conversation. If we're staring at mid-table obscurity, it's a bit of another one. And I still think, even if you sold him for 10 million, who are you going to buy him? We bought him as a Premier League team, as a Premier League.
I agree with you. I agree with
you. So who in the summer are we going to get that's going to give us for 10 million quid that's going to give us that kind of effect? And I think there are certain occasions. I get it with someone like Anel, and the offer we got there, bad sounds, it was too good to turn down anyway. But sometimes you've got to say, look, we're losing out on 10 million quid here, but the size of the prize for going up is far greater than 10 million quid. It's worth losing him in the summer, or in potentially going, do you know what? If we get promoted, I'll sign an extension to my contract.
Imagine.
I think sometimes you've got to be prepared to have a punt, and that would be the punt I would take if it looks like we can go up this season or next season. We keep him. Unless someone offers daft money for him, in which case you go, it's daft money.
Like we did with Nell, and cashed in. Okay,
someone came in with 20 million, I don't think they will, but for the sake of argument, came in with 20 million. Then you go, fine.
How do we get, just last question before I go to comments, we've asked it about other players, how do we get the best out of Gus Hamer? And I don't necessarily mean positionally, because I think he's set on playing him off the left. But do you think with Gus, it's more an individual discipline in terms of his weight management and his fitness and things like that? Because he does look overweight. He always carries more, I think, in terms of he's got a build that makes him look heavy set anyway. So he could be fit and still look overweight, but I do think he's carrying a little bit, and I think murmurings out of the club is that he's carrying a little bit of excess weight and stuff. There is rumoured to be there's other things going off in the background that are troubling him and things like that. His full focus hasn't been on football. How do we get his head back in the game, basically? How do we get the best version of Gus Hamer on the field for Sheffield United?
These people are humans. It's a bit like any of us when we're in our working lives. If we've got stuff going on away from it, then we need support in helping us through it. But we also have to take some self-accountability and go, I know I've got things going on in my personal life which are distracting, but at the same time, I've got to be disciplined enough to go, do you know what? In my working hours, I've got to give everything that I can do for it. So we've got to support him, and he's got to support himself.
It's really tough, isn't it? Because we are on the channel, we're huge advocates of mental health, and it's something that none of us shy away from talking about, and I think it's something that I'm quite proud that we put as much focus on it as we do. The one thing I will say is I don't think we ever really give it enough credence to footballers' individual circumstances either. So yes, they are paid an extortionate amount of money. Yes, they are privileged to be as talented as they are and then rewarded for that talent financially, etc. They get put in the spotlight. They get told they are role models then without really wanting to be necessarily or asking to be. And there's a lot of pressures that come with that, and there will be other things going on in everybody in our starting 11s lineup will have problems in their own lives to some degree. Some will handle it fine, some will struggle with it and will never know about it. Some will be having real tough times of it as well. And I think it's hard because this is what, whenever we critique a performance or criticise a performance even or whatever it is, it's certainly never personal. I just think sometimes, and this is more for myself than anything else, I think we need to remember that you can't go in too hard on people because you never really know what's going off. And I don't mean to sanitize anything that we're doing, but you hear little bits and bats, and I don't just mean Gus, but you hear things about people's personal lives, and you think, actually, well, people might not know about that, or he might be having a really tough time of it lately, and maybe just take him out of the team. Ben Godfrey's going through some personal issues at the moment. None of us know what they are. But that should be enough that people step back and say, don't question too much about it. Let's just hope he gets well, whatever the situation is, or hope him and his family are fine, and whatever personal issue he's dealing with, let's hope he overcomes it, and then he can start focusing on playing again. So they are humans, Dave, and I think it's a great thing to sort of circle back to, really, because we talk about the effect the team has on us as fans when they're not playing well, and it does affect people. And if you're not into the game, then people might not understand it either. But it does affect some of us in terms of our mental health. And sometimes you might have to take some time away or step away yourself or have a little bit of downtime. I've tried to keep myself busy this weekend, so I didn't think about throwing away a 2-0 lead. And that, if I explained that to my wife, she wouldn't understand it. She'd support me and she'd want me to be all right, but she wouldn't get why I'm down about something I have no control over. But it plays a big part in people's lives, so Anyway, I'll stop rambling on about that. I'll get into some comments, but thank you for raising that, Dave. I appreciate it. Alex the Blade says, bring on Derby full week before the next game. Disappointing to not have more points, but performances are improving. Scoring and creating chances. Wilder will have this sorted. Up the Ramble, like and subscribe. 10k before Christmas. I hope so, pal. That's 2 months away. And I think we're about 45 subscribers away. So, yeah, I'm hoping we'll clear it by well before Christmas Day, hopefully. But we'll see. We'll see. Never take anything for granted. Peake says, there'll be more than 3 Mardy Blades about. It was the manner in which we lost 2-0 and lose. Go up 2-0 and lose 3-2. Beat Derby and it'll be 9 points from a possible 12. Didn't help being back in the bottom 3. But we move on to the next game. Up the Blades, up the Ramble, like and subscribe. Alex says January is huge and hopefully very busy. Cannon and Barry never want to see them in a Blades shirt again, as harsh as it sounds. Most seem confident of survival, hoping to be the same after more wins. I think the trouble with this, Alex, is he will have to include them in the matchday squads. And as part of that, he has to keep them on side. He can't sort of shut them out. He may do, because it wouldn't surprise me if Wilder did that sort of thing, because he can be quite clinical. Well, he can be clinical when he needs to be. But I think he'll continue to include them in the matchday squads in case he needs them in any capacity, because of this way the squad's made up currently. So for the next 2 months, I expect to still see him involved in the matchday squad. But I agree. I think both are vulnerable of leaving in January, if I'm honest. Jamie Dumpling says, evening, guys. Thanks to Dave, Aaron, and Mrs. Nose for letting me sit next to them on Friday. That's Mrs. Leary to you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, even I can't call her Mrs.
Wow. Helps me vent, but apologies for seeing my emotional side, and thank you to that one guy pre-match who called me Jimmy.
He told me about that, yeah.
Dave was wrong, by the way. I asked if we were going 2 up top, and you said yes. Incorrect.
Yeah, I was.
Well, you'd think when Danny Ings is coming onto the pitch and Tyrese Campbell stays on the pitch, you'd have been right to assume that we're going 2 up top, but we didn't. Great to see the 3 of you back together, says Dave. Up all the Rambles, up the Blades, up the positive 5. Like and subscribe. Thank you, Dave. John says, hi, Jimmy. As a 75-plus-year-old Blade who lives 3,000 miles from beautiful downtown Bramall Lane, I want to thank you for giving me a forum to express views on United. It takes me back to my youth on the Cop with my mates, up the Blades and up the Ramble 3MB. Thank you, John. That's really kind of you, and I love that we can do that for you, and you're just as much a part of the conversation as anybody else. And I love that they come from all corners of the globe, if that's, you know what I mean, whatever the saying is. Lewis with a 1999 super chat. Thank you, Lewis. Very much appreciated. Evening 3MB. Get yourselves a drink on me next time you're in Triple Point. Tough one to take on Friday, but still lots to be positive about. We're still on an upward curve in terms of goals, fitness and confidence. It was one of those nights. A couple of things went against us and we lost composure in the middle part of the game. Once we have Gus, Davis and Blaster back, we'll have more options from the bench and stronger rotations in busy weeks. I've seen enough good things this week. Up the Ramble, like and subscribe. Thank you so much for that kind donation, Lewis. I really appreciate it. I agree in terms that Dave was saying, rightly so, that we look weak in attack. I think I'm not confident Davis will ever be consistently on the bench for United, unfortunately. Gus and Blaster clearly give us options, but just on Davo, Paul, is he somebody you potentially are starting to give up or lose faith in? Not in ability, just in terms of availability.
Well, the numbers don't lie, and he'll be one of the premium assets in terms of wages that we'll be paying based on his past and playing all his football in the Premier League with Everton before he came to us. It's really disappointing because when he plays, he clearly is good enough to make a really positive impact on this team. But the volume of injuries and the number of minutes we get for our money doesn't add up. So it's unfortunate, but yeah, we're getting to that stage where we have to sort of go, we wanted it to work, but it didn't. So
Tom Davis, for anybody that hasn't seen Lee Edridge's stat on Tom Davis, I'm going to remind us again, on a conservative estimate of a 30 grand a week wage, which is conservative because Tom Davis is known to be one of the top earners at the club. So if he's paid 30 grand a week, he's played 1,014 minutes. That equates to 11 and a quarter games. So the cost per game to Sheffield United is £317,333. Obviously, this will have ticked up very slightly since last week or the week before. Cost per minute played, per minute on the pitch, £3,526. It's an absolutely shocking statistic, and it's again, it's not a personal thing. It's not and we've just touched on it there. What is Tom Davies going through mentally when he's breaking down all the time? How can we support him through that? But by the other side of it, like Dave says, it is a business as well, and we have to look at what is working for Sheffield United. This signing has not worked because he's not been available. He's not been able to play 12 games for us in 2.5 years.
He wouldn't be at United if he could play.
That's true. That's true, but you should never gamble on somebody's availability, should you?
I'm not quite there, Dave. I'm not quite there, mate.
I think he's an absolute class above in our midfield.
Think a fit Tom Davies starts?
Yeah, I do. But
I do.
Do I think he's...
Him and Arblaster are too, I think, aren't they?
Yeah, they probably are. Do I think he's like the best player? No, I don't. Do I think he's... Yeah, I don't think he's a class above. I don't see where he'd be.
In midfield, 100%. Centre midfield, 100%.
No, I don't think he's a class above. So. I think he's a class player. I think he's a good player, very good player for the level. He's never fit. That ultimately, whether we think he's a level above, whether we think he's top level for where we are, whether we think him and Arblaster are our best two, which I think we could probably agree on, he's not fit enough that we'll ever see that, unfortunately, on a consistent basis.
But he wouldn't have come to us in the first place if he didn't have problems. We wouldn't have got him.
But I think the club needs to be smarter.
Yeah,
it's not.
We need to stop signing players who've had significant injury problems.
Agreed.
Been a problem for a while, or players that are coming off. And this, we're talking about Suter.
Harry Suter. I was just going to ask you the same question.
But he has had a serious injury, and
would you avoid signing him, Dave, in January?
We just need to make sure we do proper due diligence. I think January might come a bit soon because he doesn't look like he's ready to start playing yet.
You could do all due diligence you want, can't you? And he still might break down with an injury. You're never going to predict it, but
all right, well, maybe,
would you take the risk knowing that he's come back? We're going to have Arblaster, who's in a similar position, coming back from a real serious injury. If we sign Harry Suter because he's flown through a medical, which is great news, and then he breaks down in February, we're all kicking off, aren't we? So
probably, I think he might be slightly different in the sense that he has had what he's had. It's I suppose the Davises, and we did the right thing with Brewster in the end because he was another one that was going that way.
Yeah.
We've just got to be very. I think we've just got to be very. Very careful to not assume we're getting the same Suter that we had last season.
The prime example for me would be Reece Norrington-Davies, because Reece Norrington-Davies, I thought, was certainly at the time, it was pre-Burrows, I thought he was our best left back by a stretch when he went out injured the first time in the November. He was rumoured to be leaving for Leicester in an 8-figure deal. At that time, around that January, they were preparing a bid for him. He was really good in and around the Wales squad at that time. It was people forget how good. I think people forget, or maybe just don't rate him as much as I did at that stage. Reece Norrington-Davies were a brilliant left back for us, and when he came, well, Paul, you might scoff, but when he's come back, he was an absolute shadow of the player that we remember. We played him at centre half some games, but we also played him at left back. We also played him at left centre back in a 3 and a left wing back. We tried him in all the positions, so it's not a case of you just played him out of position. We did try him in different positions, and we just could not get the same tune out of him. And I think that goes to Dave's point that you never guaranteed the same player. We might have got a dud Ogbenny here, for all we know, because he's not really shown a level above in the Championship, has he? He's not really looked a real player. Dave's concerns were from the very start, why would Ipswich loan us a player in the same division? And the fact that he's their third choice right winger, and we're seen to be a rival at that stage because the season hadn't properly got underway, that if we were getting a real player, they wouldn't let him out. I know they're sort of balancing the books, but ultimately we wouldn't let, I don't know, Andre Brooks out to Leicester. You wouldn't do it, because why would you? Why would you? He's not even guaranteed minutes. But maybe that's a poor example. But yeah, I understand what you're saying, Dave. I think that's fair. Paul, did you have a point to make on that?
On on Reece Norrington-Davies.
Yeah.
I think we all had hopes for him because we saw outstanding performances, sporadic outstanding performances from Reece Norrington-Davies. He has not put together a season for us since he's been at the club, where he's held down a position in our team and played 35 games. I was going to have a look at the stats, see how many what his stats were season on season. I don't think he's ever shown that consistency and played. He hasn't certainly had the type of season that Harrison Burrows had last season for us. So for me,
yeah, I think that's fair.
I've never gone. Oh,
don't mean he hasn't shown potential to be a really good player for a decent amount of time. I'd say half a season he's certainly performed really well for us.
Yeah,
I would.
I don't
Maybe
know.
It's revisionist.
I personally can't remember a time when he strung together 20 matches in back-to-back, solid performance, stayed in the team, stalwart, took a spot in our team and gone, this is me. I don't think he's ever done that. I think he's always kind of flattered to deceive a little bit. And yeah, I do. I think he's had reasonable spells where he's been in and around the team, but I don't think he's ever nailed it down. Hence the reason that he's gone down the road. And QPR apparently he's been doing well for. So
yeah.
But we wouldn't have him in our team right now, that's for sure. And based on what we've seen from him in the last year or two. So yeah, I don't know.
Again, he's another example.
That's to deceive Norrington-Davies. I think we thought at one point when he had those games where he was bombing down that left flank at full tilt, he looked like a hell of a player at times, but he's never really nailed it down for me.
I think he's a strong example of what we're talking about with potentially loaning Cannon out. So Reece Norrington-Davies is going out and putting some value back into his name now. Well, like you say, it still wouldn't work for Sheffield United. If we recalled him tomorrow, I know Burrows is out of form, but McCallum gets in front of him anyway because of the way McCallum's been playing. It just does not work for Sheffield United, for Reece Norrington-Davies at Sheffield United at the moment. And I think that's going to be the case with Cannon. I think it will be a case of, he might go out to Preston and get half a dozen goals, but second half of the season, I still don't think we'll then think, we'll get Tom Cannon back here and we'll start him at the point of our attacking championship next season, hopefully, if we don't drop down through chuffing floor. Anyway, I'm going to have to crack on with comments because I know Dave's got to shoot off before 9. So, excuse me, Jimmy, no reason to panic. This league, besides Coventry, is very, very average. Plenty of time. You guys make up ground. This coming from a waffling Wrexham Yank fan who watched plenty of your matches last season. Missing Vinny, no doubt. Tom Cannon needs a goal so bad. Thank you for your contribution, Michael. I agree. I don't think... I think we'll have enough to get away from danger, but we had different ideas for this season, and it's having to adjust to potentially this season just petering out to nothing really. Jack says, evening gents, hope you're all doing well. Friday night's a temporary setback. No idea how we fumbled a 2-0 lead, but we Blades never do it the easy way. Loads of positives from that first half. Paul says, hi Jimmy, Paul, Dave, great Blades show. We'll be okay. It's a huge positive to win 2 games in 1 week. Unlucky not to win 3 in a row. It's good. We Blades are scoring more goals. Tufty ball, number 1. Up the Ramble, up the Blades. Top man. Maury says, evening Ramble, Mardy Trio. Light and mood up. Ruben Sayers has lost his first game against the 10-man Sporting Hee-Haw. Hee-Haw. Up the Blades, up all the Rambles. Thank you. Thanks, Maury. Appreciate that. Could be worse. Ruben Sayers could still be here. Back to the drawing board. I'm not sure if we played that game again today. Do we lose it, says Chris? I don't think we do. In fact, if we played it 3 times, I reckon we win all 3. Up the Blades, up all the Rambles. Please like and subscribe. I do slightly disagree, Chris. I'm not saying that we're not capable of beating Preston, but I think I go back to what Dave said and I agree. You have to give Preston the flowers as well and say they played really well and deserved the win in the end, unfortunately, for us. I think from our perspective, we threw it away. From their perspective, they earned a really hard-fought victory to come back and do us. Paul, you look like you were like.
No, I'm still laughing at Sporting. Hee-haw. I like that.
Hee-haw.
It's a good one. I think Preston played it well, didn't they? They showed character. They came back. Sometimes you have to take your hat off. Is the things that
Mon chapeau.
Mon chapeau. It's the things that'll annoy Wilder. Definitely, there's things about it that annoyed me, and I've already sort of said break down all 3 and said that could have been better. But it's they're a decent side. I'm encouraged by what I'm seeing. We're a side that is much better than we were a month ago. So I think we've got to remember that, because it's not always just going to be, oh, we're going to steamroll everybody. We didn't win a game for 7 or 8 games, so now we're starting to work. We've won 2 out of 3. Let's just remember that and just look forward to Derby. I think, again, if you look at the teams and you look at it all on paper, there's a lot of positives, and I think we'll be all right.
What were it Meatloaf said?
2 out of 3 ain't bad, maybe.
I was going to say he wouldn't do that.
Hey, nice. Helen says must win at Derby on Saturday because unfortunately it's going to be a battering from Frank Lampard's Coventry. I'm not so sure about that. Sorry all, not feeling in any way positive. Well, sometimes, Helen, it's just a case of getting it out of your system. I don't think we've been the most positive tonight, or certainly I haven't. But then I think sometimes getting it out of your system helps, and we can just put it to bed and move on. But come Derby, come next week, I will be positive that we can certainly beat Derby. We can, because we can. We've shown it last few performances. We can beat Derby at home. I'm not saying we will, but we can. And then if we do get those 3 points, I'll be confident going up against Coventry that we can get something from the game, because we have to believe we can get something from it. Otherwise, there's no point turning up, is there?
But if we don't, it's not the end of the world.
Correct. If we don't, yeah, I'll need reminding of that.
Because of how well Coventry are doing. That's the point with that.
Absolutely right.
Not trivialising how people are feeling, but we'll have to go into that game with a large amount of
realism.
Yeah, that's going to be a tough one for anybody in the league.
Yeah, it is. All 3 of their goals were unlucky from our point of view, says James. Yeah, you could say that. You could also say from their perspective they've taken full advantage of a situation and done really well. Evening, gents. Do I think we're in a relegation scrap? Yes. Do I think we'll go down? No. I also don't think we'll trouble the top 6 this season. Jamie Dumpling says less than 50 subs to people. 50 subs to people. 10k closer than ever. Please subscribe, and likes are bonuses. They're all free. Thank you, Jamie Dumpling. Chris says, don't want to talk about football. Who hate these early nights? Why do we mess with the clocks? Sorry about that. Don't know, Chris. Can't help you with that one, I'm afraid. John says, just hope we don't go backwards after the loss to Preston. This is where I sort of overthink it a little bit. Can't believe we lost. Got to go straight at Derby from the start. Need to concentrate more at the back. Would keep the same side that started. I possibly would too, other than it's the left back call for me, which I'll come to before we wrap up. Johnny the Clown says a reality check, that's all. The breakdown on the field was awful to watch, but given the season so far, not totally out of the blue given the way the game went. Still 6 point out of 9 is a decent week. Certainly is. 7 till Ted. I don't know. Derby just looking like they're finding their feet, looking a lot stronger, quite comfortably dispatched of QPR on Saturday. 15 poor minutes, says Ian. Nothing to panic about. Mid-table by Christmas, and then let's see what Wilder's made of in the market. It's not the end of the season. Up the Blades, up the Ramble, like and subscribe. Thank you, mate. Andy says conceding either side of half-time shifted the momentum. Certainly did. Preston were starting to run out of ideas. Then they score a good goal, which changed the game, plus some poor defending by us. James says, getting the same feeling with Cooper as I had with Ramsdale. Seems a good keeper, but don't seem saving much. Beaten a lot from distance, footwork and reactions in need of work. Sean says, I just want to make sure you're all right. I'm just checking in. Thank you very much, Sean. Probably from an opposition side. I'm all right, thank you, mate. Romeo Dunn says, we are a negative football club at the moment. I am suffering with my mental health. This is not helping. I am really struggling with life. So being here helps me. Thank you. Up the Ramble. Romeo, I'm sorry to hear that, pal. And if you ever need anything, then you know how you can contact us on any of the information below. I'm on social media. I do need to get back to some people on social media, so I apologise for those that I haven't yet, but it's been a busy weekend. If you need me to contact me or anybody, please speak to someone, Romeo, if that's something you're comfortable doing. But I think recognising that you're struggling is a huge step forward in the first place. So just be kind to yourself and act how you feel will be best for you going forward. Some people don't want to talk, but I think it does really help some people. So it might just be a doctor that you talk to or something like that. But that's just one suggestion that might not work for everybody. So thank you for being so open, and I hope you're okay. Let's have a look. Craig says, we waste strikers except Sharp. What striker is it? Double figures since I don't remember when. Ty Campbell last season. I think it double figures last season. But I get the point, Craig. To be fair, I think we We don't get the best out of strike. I do think it's very hard for strikers to thrive in a one up top, unless you're going to be a Man City or an Arsenal, just rolling everything in front of them.
Then the Arsenal thing, it's an interesting point. I think Man City have got a freak of nature up front. I think
they have.
Gyökeres, who scored for fun in Portugal and is struggling to get touches. So I think you're right. Playing one up top is an incredibly difficult position for centre forward these days.
It is. Agreed. Nige says, very harsh on McCallum. Didn't do his confidence much good. A player played great and then starts Burrows. You can't pick a team on your supposedly best team. You pick a team on performances and form. I also think we have to take into account it were a 3 games in 6 days situation, and McCallum had probably played 160 minutes, something like that, over the course of probably longer than that. So, yeah, I think that will have come into it as well. It doesn't mean he couldn't get on the pitch, though, when Burrows is tanking. So I'm not completely blindly defending it. We've already covered that, to be fair. Paul Young said, I said this about McCallum before the match and 99% disagreed. Well done, Paul Young. Well done, Paul. Bamford is free, says Paul. Just very quickly, lads, do either of you take Bamford?
No.
Paul?
Where's he training? Is he training at Ipswich, is it? Or...
No idea.
He's training at one of the top teams, isn't he?
Was it Coventry or something?
Coventry. It could be Coventry, yeah. He's training there, so...
Another one that's had a lot of injury problems. It's exactly what to get away from.
Yep.
Bald Lee says, for the Derby game, I'd drop Burrows for Sam McCallum. I'd also get Ogbenny out of this side as a priority. It's shown me nothing so far. I would rather see Sariki there. And Wilder made note that Sariki was a selection issue rather than an injury. We are so easily bullied by teams, says Dave. Who else has not had a comment read? Lofts, I'm not reading that one. I think everybody, unless I get to the end and there's a few more, has had a comment read. All right. Derby just got 6 points from 9, says Chris. Concede very few. It won't be easy. Carl says, apart from Samari, send all the loans back in January if we can. Let Cannon go out on loan and then let Wilder do his stuff up the Blades at Paul Rambles. I think we would probably all agree with you, Carl. I don't think Wilder will terminate Ogbenny's loan. I'll be very surprised if he does. Cooler King says, evening Mardy's progress from rock bottom was never going to be a straight line. The data, more goals scored, fewer conceded, more points gained, shows it's essentially upwards progression.
100% this.
Brilliant that. And this is why I love the fact that we've got not just Blades on these streams, because we can be biased and that works both for and against us. We can get sucked into positive times and we can get dragged down by negative times. And I always appreciate a neutral opinion. Cooler King always comes in with level-headed opinions and sort of give us some home truths as well about Friday night that, look, Preston were the better side, which is fair, I think. But also, this is so true. It's an upturn in the overall trajectory of where we are. It's an upturn of where we've been. Paul says, Wilder's got his hands full keeping this team in touch till January, till we can send all the loan players back and bring in players he wants. One being a quality striker. Well, that would be on the list if Cannon goes out. And I think we're more liable now to bring in a better striker than we would be if we were still trying to muscle in, make sure, like Tom Cannon isn't, like Tyrese Campbell for me isn't a guaranteed starter at the moment. I think he did himself no harm against Preston, but I don't think he looks fit, and he's had a poor season. Tom says, remember when you lot used to sing Leeds Are Falling Apart? Yeah, enjoyed it as well. Enjoyed singing it, and we'll enjoy singing it again. Yeah, we'll enjoy singing it again, Tom. Craig says, who's going to come back and get a goal on Saturday, Brewster or Ben Brereton Diaz?
Brewster.
It won't be Brewster, he'll be injured, I think. Ben Brereton Diaz. Ben Brereton Diaz could be a problem. We are, we've got to be mindful. Dave the Nose has places to be. So we are going to wrap it up now. But lads, have you anything else you want to comment on before I let you go?
Just to say, obviously, I said at the start about going to Harry and Molly's wedding. Brilliant. Thank you. Enough personal stuff. But my lads this weekend. So I manage his football team. Some people know that already. We were driving up the motorway to Sheffield Saturday morning. Ronnie, our main striker, was out. He's on his holiday. So I said to the man who manages with us, stick him up front for his pace. and see how he gets on, because we had some joy with it against this team last time. Sat in the car, Mrs. Mountain, updates coming through. Ronnie Mountain's never scored 2 goals in a game. First half hat-trick, and then another one in the second half in a 4 goals in a 5-goal win as a striker. Where he plays down the right hand side. So I just wanted to. I'm going to show him this tomorrow, and he'll be buzzing.
Boy Hill,
Mate,
super Ronnie Mountain. We love to see it.
The cheering in the car was.
Do you know what though? That has to be a tinge of both absolute pride and a tinge of disappointment that you weren't there to see it happen as well.
First thing she says, as soon as he's not there, it said all the pressure's off, and he just does that, and I'm like,
that's brilliant.
Right,
that.
Brilliant. So, yeah.
Well done, Ron. Well done, Ron. That's top class. That
it was class. And the other part of it that was the best bit was he got halfway home, halfway up the street with his nana, who picked him up, and he hadn't even told her that he'd scored. And she said, "Oh, how did the game go?" "Oh, we won 5-1. "Oh, did you get any? Yeah, I scored 4. He just sort of dropped it in, and it was like. That's how you do it, boy. Yeah, I was well proud.
I love that. Right, well, lads, I just want to say thank you so much for joining me tonight. As always, I love getting together. Paul, you're away now, aren't you, for a little bit?
Just a few days, just a few nights.
All right, okay. So you'll be back. Good to go next week. That's good to hear.
Yeah.
So, look, I think my message to everybody, firstly, is thank you for joining us. We are well on as a channel. Thanks to everybody's support, we are well on the road to 10K, and I am absolutely buzzing to be so close to that milestone. In terms of the game, we park it now. It's happened. We've sort of vented. We've got our frustrations out, and we move on and we look forward to Derby. That's the focus from tomorrow on the channel. We'll be looking forward to Derby. We'll certainly be back with Countdown to Kick Off on Wednesday. There may be a couple of bits to come, so keep your notifications on. But we park that. It's happened. It's a disappointing thing that happened against Preston, but it doesn't define the season. We've come back from worse this season already in terms of disappointment and results. I'd argue that Bristol City was a real kicker to start the season off, and we've bounced back and we've shown that we can rebuild again. So full positivity going forward. Wilder will certainly shake that into us following the press conference anyway, I'm sure, leading into the Derby game. But I'm done now. I'm done moaning about the Preston game, and I'm going to look to brighter days ahead, starting at Bramall Lane on Saturday. So lads, thanks for joining us. But for now, come on, you red and white wizards.
Up the sporting gig on!